1, a 2, a 1.
It's time for the Better Horses radio show. So let's saddle up and ride as we explore the Western way of life, horses and cows, family and friends, a relationship with the land, and a relationship with God. It's all here on Better Horses Radio. Now let's hit the trails with the Better Horses team.
Welcome to Better Horses, and what a week this is going to be. Nothing but horse information and conversations all coming to you for the next hour. Hello, everyone. My name's Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And Merle, thank you for joining me. We get to talk about all these great championship shows that are coming up, like the 2024 Color Breed Congress is coming up November 1st through the 9th in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
You're not going to want to miss that show. If it's at all possible, you want to be there, at least come watch and come hang out with me and Ed and Susie, and it'll be a lot of fun.
So how's your training coming? Is it good?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've had great weather here, and a bunch of customers come down over the weekend, and we ran through patterns and rode outdoors, and it was really fun.
You know, you can't help from getting on, especially with a fall season like this. And I got to tell you, coming up, we're going to have some really great information, like the professional horse trainer, Phil Haugen from Be Your Best Horsemanship. I am really thrilled, Merle, to have this guy on board, and he's been selected for Road to the Horses here for 2025.
Yeah, that Road to the Horse is a really neat thing to watch. And if you haven't gotten a chance, check out our TV show. And we did it, was it last year?
Last year,
Road to the Horse. And probably do it again this year if everything goes planned. But it's really neat to watch those guys take that animal all the way from, not even halter broke to, getting on their back and teaching them.
It's unbelievable. And next, Dr. Lynn Martin, an equine veterinarian specialist, and she's also a professor at the University of Missouri College of Veterinary Medicine. And you know what, Merle? We're going to talk about something kind of important, which is the eyes of the horse. And she just got out of a surgery, which she had to take out an eye of one horse and how well he's really doing. This will be a fun conversation.
Yeah, it's always remarkable, too, how resilient some horses are. You think losing an eye it'd be traumatic to us, but the horses, they seem to really bounce back from it.
We're so glad to have her come on board and give us the day-to-day of what's going on, how to care and custody of your horses. And then next, Scott Rystrom, Quarter Horses. We get to talk to Scott and Shelly Rystrom. We use them to talk about all of our taboo conversations, people that normally don't want to talk about special information. And Merle, this is something that you get to put together.
Well, Scott and I talk, at least once a week and maybe 2 or 3 times, depending on what comes up. And our conversations are always real, and we're real with each other. And so they've been on before if you haven't caught that. So if you have caught it, you're going to want to stay tuned. And if you haven't, you don't know what you're in for.
Okay. They're a full service breeding, training, and showing facility. And I tell you, we're glad to have them on board. But first, before we get started, we want to throw it to our one and only Mark Oppold, who's going to talk about better cattle. Mark, it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. Lots to cover in this edition of Better Cattle. But I want to start out with a shout-out to all FFA members, past and current members, as their convention underway in Indianapolis all through this week. This is the 97th annual convention. I remember way back in days when that was held for decades in Kansas City. That has moved to Louisville, and now the last several years in Indianapolis. And boy, they can handle that. 73,000 attendees, I read, for this convention this year. That's students, of course, some 60,000, but it also includes, advisors and those involved in the trade show. So, again, over 70,000 across Indianapolis here this week at the 97th annual convention. Engage is the theme this year. Elsewhere, looking at the average dress cattle weights, keeping an eye on that, and that certainly tells a story as well. This past week, the average dress weight was 863 pounds. That compares to 834 pounds a year ago, and the 5-year average for mid to late October is 833 pounds. So we're a full 30 pounds heavier than the 5-year average. I looked at the slaughter here last week, 608,000 cattle moving through our facilities, 608,000 plus 30 pounds per animal. It tells you how much more beef is in that pipeline and the challenge ahead for the industry. Looking at futures here briefly, December live cattle coming off some fresh lows here, 186 as a key level to hold as we entered this week, and we'll continue to watch that number. It hadn't closed below 186 since the 10th of September. So that would be a number to watch either side, and if we would move below that, where support might come in. Finally, the announcement from Superior Livestock. Superior Livestock Buyer Portal has been introduced. SLA Portal is the first of its kind, offering buyers ability to view recent purchases. They can do sale recaps, look at invoices, other essential documents, do that directly from the desktop or tablet or any mobile device. It's a seamless integration of information designed to enhance efficiency, for one, Superior says, and provide a more intuitive and informed buyer experience. You can certainly learn more about that at superiorlivestock.com. It's Superior Livestock Auction Buyer Portal. Might be something for all cattlemen to look into. Well, that'll do it for us to get things started here today. And as always, though, Ed, we wish everyone a profitable week ahead.
And appreciate it, Mark. Always pleased to have that information, and the cattle information is coming for us, and it is always changing. And so next, we want to keep it going with our own Better Horses Horse Tip of the Week.
Thank you, Ed. This is Kathleen Sales, and I am a professional horse trainer here in Kansas City. Your Better Horses Tip for the week is execution of the aids. When you apply an aid, you ask the horse to do something. After the aid is applied, you expect the horse to react to the aid that is applied, and if not, we work on the timing of correction of the ask to make sure the horse does whatever aid you are asking with prompt timing. For instance, my students under saddle struggle with asking for an aid such as a canter cue. They ask with their leg, and then the horse may trot a little quicker or ignore the aid for a moment, and then you need to give the horse more of an ask. Then you ask the horse to execute the aid again for a tell command, and then upon the horse maybe not getting the message, you ask for a command, execution into the aid, and the horse promptly picks up the canter lead and then canters off. For clarification, when you ask the horse to do something, you want to tell them and then command them. And the timing of these things needs to happen appropriately within 2 to 3 seconds after the first ask. If you apply a leg aid and the horse doesn't promptly pick up the canter, you can take that cue again for a tell, and then a third time a command as an asking. This is the timing that I expect you to pick up this canter lead. I hope that helps. Again, this is Kathleen, and I am a professional horse trainer here in Kansas City, and this is your Better Horses Tip for the week. Have a happy ride.
As always, bringing you the best horse tip of the week, coming all the time right here on Better Horses. Hey, Merle, we got a great show. Let's get this thing started, and we want everybody to stay with us as we've got Phil Haugen, Dr. Lynn Martin, and Scott and Shelley Rystrom at the Rystrom Quarter Horses coming your way. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we'll be right back right after these words from our sponsors.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
Routine dental examination and treatments are essential for high-quality horse care. To prevent potential problems, a horse's mouth should be examined at least once a year. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins, Equine Field Service Veterinarian at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. We can examine the mouth and provide a treatment plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
2024 is not over, so let's ride to the finest horse show of the year, the Color Breed Congress, beginning November 1st through the 9th in Tulsa, Oklahoma, located at the Ford Livestock Complex. With over 600 classes, all levels, all disciplines, and all breeds, including the long-ear classes, can enter with no qualifications required. Cash and prizes to be won. The Color Breed Congress, a family-friendly environment with a good taste of healthy competition. For more information, go to colorbreedcongress.com. The Color Breed Congress in Tulsa.
And welcome back to Better Horses. Very glad you stayed with us. And you know what? We are very proud to show up a real talent in the horse industry. And this segment is brought to you by the Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine. They're a full-service veterinary hospital providing routine, specialty, and emergency care. Check them out at ksvhc.org. And you know what, Merle? Okay, so I promise you, this is a guy that we're really pleased to have on board, and he's got a lot of experience. And how we know that is because he's rode over 1,000 horses. 30 years in the training experience has laid a solid foundation of success of the Haugen Horsemanship Program. Be Your Best Horsemanship is what he's called. And you know what? Phil grew up looking at the value of a well-trained equine partner and the importance of creating a foundation built of trust and respect. Now, Phil's done a lot, Merle. Now, he's competed in the calf roping, team roping, and the saddle bronc riding in the PRCA for over 20 years. He now has his PRCA Gold Card member, but he's a winning on both ends of the arena. Phil won the coveted Linderman Award in 1989. He's also a 2021 inducted into the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame. He is currently selected to be one of the participants in Road to the Horse. It's coming up in 2025. And I am very pleased to have this guy on board. And he's a real talent. And his name is Phil Haugen. Phil, welcome to Better Horses Radio.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I sure appreciate it.
You know, you've got a lot going on right now. So we're going to talk about all of your training and the fundamentals of that fun stuff. But you've done so much in your career. You just got selected to be one of the first to go to Road to the Horse, which is coming up March 27th and the 30th at the Kentucky Horse Park in Lexington, Kentucky. Talk to me on how your training is coming.
You know, Road to the Horse, which of course it's been around for, I think, 20 years now. And I had been contacted a time or two before to be on what, you know, I guess they called the short list. And I did not get selected. So I'll be honest with you. I thought kind of maybe, you know, my opportunity had passed. And, you know, and I think Road to the Horse is something that anybody that in this industry that trains horses and, you know, has been at it for a long time, that's something that, you know, they probably would love to get to be a part of, you know. So but very few people get selected. So when they did call me this last year, and it was right before I had I just got done with a partial knee replacement about 3 months ago. It was right before that, and I said, well, I got one little thing coming up that, you know, kind of needs to go good, but I think it'll be good, and I'll be good to go, you know, after I get this surgery done. And it all went good. And then they called me back and said if I was willing, I was going to get invited. So yeah, we were pretty excited.
For our viewers and listeners that are listening to this, the Road to the Horse is an event that showcases the world's best colt starters and their horsemanship skills in just 3 days. And your ability to build that partnership with a colt. Now that's, you know, you got to have your own horsemanship methodology. What's your first approach when you're doing something like this?
Well, I tell you what, of course it's going to be, you know, Tick Maynard is coming back. He's one of the 4. He's the returning champion. I believe it's Vicky Wilson from New Zealand. I hope I got that name right.
You do.
I do not. Yeah, I don't know her, but I know she's a returning champion. And then there will also be the champion of the wild card come in there. So it's going to be an extremely talented group, you know. So going into that, I think the biggest thing for me is just going to be to keep myself slowed down and just do what I know how to do. I think in that situation, because it's going to be, it's going to be pretty intense, and you're going to have horses in a situation that for them is not real friendly. I mean, coming into a coliseum, with a lot of people on top of you, those horses have been at the Pitchfork Ranch, turned out. They're not going to be comfortable at all in that setting. So it's going to be really, really important to just slow down, try to make that connection with them, and then move forward as they tell you they're ready. Because I really think in that situation, if you go to trying to force anything on them, I think they're going to get very defensive, very reactive. So yeah, it's going to be a great challenge. And I don't really know how you practice for that. I mean, I'm working horses, we're working horses every day, but we're not working horses in that environment. And I really don't know how you'd go replicate that environment to practice for it. So really and truly, for a guy like me who hasn't been in that situation like those others, it's gonna be a heck of a challenge.
Phil, and that's interesting you say. I was the equine mascot trainer for the Chiefs for I guess it was about 11 years, and I often said, you can't. They say, well, how do you train a horse to be in that environment? And I said, you really can't. You have to train the horse in that environment. You can't. You do your homework at home, but like there, you don't even get your homework. But an interesting part of that is the horse selection, and maybe some of our listeners have seen that. How do you go about picking out your colt?
As far as I know, we basically draw numbers, and then we get to pick. And they haven't actually given me the exact rules on that yet, how the horses are going to be selected. But I know you get a pick from a group, and we pick in a particular order, and I'm not sure how they determine that order, but you're just going to have to kind of look for one that has some of the characteristics that I would just look for in a horse if I was going to buy one. That's how I'm going to look at it is,
sure,
is that a horse I would like to buy to train? Because like I've bought several colts just to have for our colt starting mentorship weeks that we have coming up in November, and then some yearlings for in the spring for those mentorship weeks. So we have lots of colts to start. But like those colts, I picked every one of them just, they're just based off of what would kind of work for my program. And so when I look at those horses from the Pitchfork, and they've got to have good characteristics, because those cowboys down there, they ride them to do a job and to get something done. So yeah, they might be tough, and they might be a little reactive or defensive, but at the same time, they're breeding them because they can use them for a job. So they got to be good horses. So, but luck of the draw is going to play into the deal. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if you have a horse that, you struggle with making that connection and helping them think instead of being reactive, if you can't get them to use the thinking side of their brain, it's going to be a 3-day struggle.
It's what we all live for, on that thinking side versus the reaction side. If you're just joining us, we're talking to Phil Haugen at Be Your Best Horsemanship, and we're also talking about Road to the Horse. It'll be on March 27th and the 30th. And Phil, from last year, talking to Ken McNabb and Tick Maynard out there, they both have different philosophies. So the Pitchfork rank throws us out about 15 horses out there, untouched, and you get to look at them and decide which one you want. When we talked to Ken McNabb, he said, well, I want to take the leader of the herd. And then Tick Maynard said, I want to take the one who's not the leader of the herd. So there's different philosophies going back and forth. So I don't think they've changed the ruling, but you get to select your horse from the herd, which will be real interesting to see what your philosophy is going to be.
Yeah, I knew that's how it was set up. I didn't know how they determined the order that you got to pick. But it really, to me, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. And whatever they put in that round pen, here's the thing, everybody that's there, it's our job to do the best we can to help progress that horse and establish a foundation and set them up for success. If after 3 days you leave there and you've got a horse that has developed some trust, a horse that's developed some confidence, a horse that is understanding the responses you're asking for, then you've done your job.
You've been traveling around the country, still doing clinics. You're still doing clinics right up to the end of the year. And I know you're getting ready your 20 to 25 events going out. Talk to me on how your clinics are going and what are the things and the fundamentals you like to go through.
Yeah, the clinics have been great this year. We've had a variety of geographic locations this year, and got to see a lot of good horses and meet a lot of good people. And what's interesting though is the common denominator as you go across the country, it's all foundation horsemanship. If your horse has a strong foundation and you have a great connection, you have great communication with that horse, then the discipline is pretty easy, if not real easy. Now, if you don't have a good connection with that horse, if your foundation principles are shaky, everything's going to be shaky. So it doesn't matter if I'm in Maine, Oregon, Montana, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, it's really, the principles are all the same no matter where you're at. And it's, it just continues to hold true. It's just like at this event. I mean, last year, Pick Maynard, really dominated. He won all 3 rounds and the finals. The final day, I mean, he was the high point overall. And, he just did a fantastic job of creating a foundation with that horse. And, and really nice guy. He called here a month or so ago after the announcements came out, and, just a great guy. But you can tell somebody that he's going to be, he'll be tough to beat if he does his job like he did last year. He did an outstanding job.
Yeah, he did really good. The only guy without the cowboy hat in the ring. That's what he always likes to tell us when he's talking to us. Hey, Phil, we want to thank you for joining us. But before I let you go, can we talk about your podcast for just a minute and how you're doing it and how successful it is and how people can get there?
Yeah, so the Be Your Best Horsemanship podcast, we started a little over 4 years ago, and started out, I was going to do 10 of them. And I think we've done about 270 of them now. And so it's went really well. We really enjoy doing them, and I enjoy all the feedback. And anybody that wants to, follow us and listen, just go to Be Your Best Horsemanship and pull it up on any of the platforms. One thing that happened this year we're really proud of, we went over 1 million downloads, and we're actually, I think we have listeners in 42 countries now. So really kind of unbelievable to me. I never dreamed that it would grow like that, but it's been fun. It's
exciting to watch you grow on that staff. That's Be Your Best Horsemanship, also on a podcast, and they can check out on your website too. So that is going to be Phil Haugen, horsemanship.com. Phil, I want to thank you for joining Better Horses. Always enjoy talking to you and love to have you come back right before the big event.
Sounds great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. We appreciate Phil coming on board. Hey, listen, everyone, we want you to stay with us as we have more Better Horses coming your way. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
And we'll be right back right after the word from our sponsors. And welcome back to Better Horses. Merle, one of the great things about this program is we get to talk about the care and custody of horses along with training like we just did with Phil Haugen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this segment is brought to you by the John Deere dealers, Heritage Tractor. And we can explore all the John Deere tractors, everything you need in Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas to complete your farm and construction needs. Check out heritagetractor.com. Okay, coming up, she's an equine veteran. She's a teacher. She's a professor at the University of the Missouri College of Veterinary Medicine. I'd like to welcome on board somebody who's going to tell us all about the care and custody of horses, Lynn Martin. Lynn, thank you, and welcome to Better Horses.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you know, Merle and I were talking, and we were talking about all the things that can happen to horses. And going into the fall season or spring season, the one thing that we always look at is their eyes. And sometimes they have pollen and everything that gets into their eyes and the protection of that. But we've had a couple of indicators that when should I call a veterinarian if I have an eye issue? And then you have a special case study where a horse will lose its eye, and you were part of the surgical team that put together those type of operations. And I want you to talk about that and exactly what we need to look for and what we need to do to help prevent that.
Sure. So I guess I would say if a horse has an eye injury, owners go out, they see the eye squinting, there's a bunch of tearing, maybe the eye is swollen shut. It's an emergency because a horse can lose their eye very quickly. And part of that reason is because they get infected. And unlike, say, our small animal species, who probably most commonly will get a bacterial infection, horses living in barns and eating from round bales or from feeders where they're pulling the hay out of the feeder, they also get fungal organisms. And when you get a fungal infection in an eye ulcer, they will deteriorate rapidly, and we basically literally say the eye will start to melt out of the head, and the doctor word for that is keratomalacia. And whenever we see that in a photo that the owner sends, we're like, get it in immediately. So you want to get on top of eye injuries very rapidly, and hopefully though, it's not going to turn into a big deal, but if you get on it right away, you're going to have the best outcome.
Merle and I both have boarding barns, and Merle, I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna throw it back to you. I come in with swollen eyes, and to your point where it's shut, and I put the clear eyes that you get right from Tractor Supply or any independent feed store, and then hopefully I don't call you until after that does not work. Is that something that you're saying we're not being responsive enough when we see situations like that?
Sure. I think that if you're not seeing a response to what you're doing in 12 to 24 hours, I would seek attention immediately. The times where it's most problematic is when there's an actual injury to the cornea, the surface of the eye. And from there, once you have that injury to the surface of the eye, that's where the bacteria and the fungal organism can get in. Sometimes horses, they hit their head on something and they get a little bit of what we call uveitis or inflammation inside the eye. It's not necessarily damage to the surface of the cornea, so they don't get an actual infection. And those can heal up, pretty quickly. They may be a little teary for a day or two, and they'll do just fine. We also have cases where, this summer there were a lot of barns that the fly control was not great. And flies just kind of constantly being in the eyes. These horses get runny, kind of, irritated, maybe red eyes around the periphery. They don't have an actual injury to the cornea, so it's not getting infected. And those ones will usually do okay as well. Get better control of the flies, give them a little support in that eye. But certainly if you have the bad ones where there's a bunch of tearing, draining, swelling, those ones, you just better safe than sorry.
And shifting gears a little bit here, this is a tricky time of year with the temperatures fluctuating so much. Can you give us some advice about blanketing and whether to blanket or not? I've had clients in the past that, insisted they wanted one and others insisted they didn't. And can you give us some advice about that?
Yes, I will do my best. I personally, I'm originally from Minnesota, and we don't blanket our horses very much. We let them grow a winter coat, and they do just fine in the elements. However, if horses are kept inside quite a bit and maybe they don't have the opportunity to grow a winter coat, you have to be careful with them in helping keep their core body temperature at a comfortable range. I'm going to be bad because I don't want to throw out any specific temperatures to say put on a blanket or not put on a blanket. Again, it kind of goes back to what and how the horse has been housed. If they're show horses and they're very slick, they should be probably blanketed almost all the time. But if they're horses that kind of go in and out a little bit, you can be a little bit more flexible with that. I'd say the most important thing is to ensure that it's a properly fitting, blanket, and ones that end up too big, they get the straps caught up in their legs. They can get injuries from those. And if they're too small, on the flip side of it, they're going to get a bunch of rubs and sores and lose some hair. And then you're going to be having wounds that you need to take care of in that regard.
I think Merle's right. Every horse is different. I like your idea of keeping it off as much as you can, but there are some cases where you have to put those blankets on there. I think water tanks are also important as far as going into the winter months. And so any other items that we need to talk about that our horse owners need to be protective of going into the winter season?
Well, along the water tanks, having good tank heaters in there, ensure horses have good electrolytes, which usually comes from a good forage diet and a ration balancer. If they're not getting anything else, really, that should cover the maintenance needs of the horse. And, aside from that, if you have icy areas, make sure that if the horses are walking on them, try to get that ice taken care of. They can get some ice balls, people call it, kind of in their hooves, that ice packing and snow packing. Some people will put a little bit of, say, Vaseline or something on there so the ice won't pack. But they're usually smart about that stuff.
And if you're just joining us, we're talking to Lynn Martin. She's an equine specialist. She's an equine veterinarian at the Missouri College of Veterinary Medicine at the University of Missouri. And I'll tell you what, Lynn, you offer a lot of services down there at the university. Can you talk to the average horse person that wants to get out there and just go there? Is there any special limitations that they need to know about?
As far as coming to us at the University of Missouri Veterinary Health Center, we see routine cases, we see referred cases. So if you just want to make an appointment with us, give our office a call. We do have an ambulatory service that has a certain radius outside of our hospital. They will go to your farm. We have a surgery service. They primarily cover our lameness and surgery cases. And then we have the internal medicine service, which is what I'm primarily on. And we're seeing sick horses, colics, respiratory, GI type cases, neurologic stuff, and of course the eyes.
Perfect. Well, full disclosure on this interview, I want to let everybody know that there was a special buckskin horse that had a surgery done, and Lynn's success and her talent was given a very good accolades to the owner, which that owner is now at my barn. So Merle, just to let you know, I now have a one-eyed horse at my barn. And I'll tell you what's amazing to everybody out there. It's amazing how fast they can adapt to their limitations. And I can tell you from a boarder's perspective and the owner of the horse, which is named Thomas, she is riding him. They are going out on trails. They are heavy discipline, thinking about going into some competitions. And it's amazing how well that horse bounced back.
He was a really cool horse.
Yeah. So Lynn, congratulations. And I'm glad to let you know that everybody's doing very well. But more importantly, thank you for doing everything you do and the talent you have in keeping these horses so well taken care of and keeping them going as much as we love to put them into. They're great to have.
Thank you.
Okay, that was Lynn Martin, and she's with the Missouri College of Veterinary Medicine at the University of Missouri. Hey, Merle, we got some special conversations coming up with Scott and Shelley Rystrom that I think everybody's going to want to stay with us. I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dylan Luter, a specialist in equine performance medicine at the Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Our new service focuses on lameness diagnosis, advanced imaging, physical therapy, and regenerative medicine for horses with injuries preventing them from performing at their best. We can treat a variety of conditions and design a customized rehabilitation plan to meet the needs of each client and their horse. Visit us at ksvhc.org, the Veterinary Health Center, to discover, to teach, to heal.
Hi, I'm Tommy with Heritage Tractor. Whether you're looking to maintain your yard or your whole ranching operation, Heritage Tractor has John Deere mower and tractor packages that make work fly by. With a variety of horsepower and attachment configurations, we have a package to best fit your needs and budget. To learn more about these exclusive packages, visit us in store or online at heritagetractor.com.
Legendary products, extraordinary service. That's our heritage.
Established in 1956, the Pinto Horse Association of America was formed to welcome all types of equines and maintain their show records and pedigrees. PTHA currently has over 88,000 members with 157,000 registered Pintos. There are currently 3 separate registries: the Color Registry, the Solid Registry, and the Long Ear Registry. We welcome all levels of competition within a family-friendly environment. Become a member, register, and add value to your horse. For more information, check out the website pintoworld.com.
Get quality you can stand on. Hoof Grip is the proprietary formula that provides shock absorption for your animals with no ice buildup, slipping, cracking, or sogginess, making it the safest, most comfortable, and maintenance-free flooring on the market. Hoof Grip installs quickly and easily over existing surfaces, is easy to clean, and withstands extreme heat or cold. From vet offices to barns, wash racks to trailers and more. Visit hoofgrip.com to find a dealer in your area today.
We're here for the hardworking, the resilient. We're for the people who measure their days by what needs to get done, not by hours. Where kids learn responsibility at a young age and generations work side by side. Where work doesn't pause for holidays or bad weather. It just gets harder. Where value and hard work means more than the clothes you wear. We're Kleinschmidt's Western Store, Higginsville, Missouri.
It's time to go with United Mosquito and Fly Control's premier fly system for fly control in your barn, providing relief for horses from the stress of fighting flies, and also makes the barn more pleasant for everyone in the barn. Easy, effective, and safe. With United Mosquito and Fly Control, we provide a full service. You as the barn owner don't have to do anything. We go everywhere and take care of everything with our friendly fast service. Call today at 913-558-3814 or email Paul at unitedmosquito.com.
2024 is not over, so let's ride to the finest horse show of the year, the Colored Breed Congress, beginning November 1st through the 9th in Tulsa, Oklahoma, located at the Ford Livestock Complex. With over 600 classes, all levels, all disciplines, and all breeds, including the long ear classes, can enter with no qualifications required. Cash and prizes to be won. The Colored Breed Congress, a family-friendly environment with a good taste of healthy competition. For more information, go to colorbreedcongress.com. The Colored Breed Congress in Tulsa.
Welcome back to Better Horses. We are joined by Scott and Shelley Rystrom, but before we get to them, we want to tell you this segment is sponsored by the 2024 Colored Breed Congress, which will take place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, November 1st through the 9th. Now, for those of you that are regular listeners, you may remember Scott and Shelley. They are a dynamic duo in the world of quarter horses with years of experience of shared passion for breeding and raising top-tier performance horses. They've built a solid reputation in the industry, and they are based out of Nebraska. Their focus on quality has made them trusted names in the quarter horse community, and their love for the horse shines through in everything they do. So with that, I'd like to welcome Scott and Shelley Rystrom.
Hey, Merle, how you doing?
How you guys doing?
Great. You know, Scott and I, it's no secret, we're good friends and have been for a long time. And we always get in these talks, Ed, and we were saying, hey, well, that'd be good to put on the podcast. And we were talking today about, you know, how open communication with clients and trainers is. And Scott, maybe you just want to kick it off and just tell me, you know, just kind of start it off and how you address it.
Well, from the last time we visited, we kind of based things off of, just educating trainers and amateurs on how communication should go. I thought we should maybe go another step further deep into this and maybe talk directly to like the owners of the horses and how do you go about looking for a trainer? What's that communication look like? And from there on. So
it's kind of like a no taboo type conversation, and we'll kind of walk into that. And we're talking to some sensitivities between the trainer and the owners. Shelly, I'm going to throw it to you. What kind of sensitive topics that they get into where they're both trying to accomplish the same goal?
Like on my side on the breeding side, there's always, it's just like every part of the horse. They don't always live up to our expectations, whether that's your mare getting in foal on the first cycle or just yesterday, I had a really tough day. I was, going through some stuff, getting back with people. And one of the text messages that came through was unfortunately a picture of a aborted foal, and people asking, what do I do? What are my next steps? And it was so amazing. I was so glad they reached out to me right away, because that's the first step when bad stuff happens, is to reach out and start the conversations. And most stallions have a live foal guarantee. And, I helped them walk through some steps of how to contact the vet and how important it was to get involved with the vet right away, and that I would be here to help them with any questions they had, and how sad I was for all of us, because we were all so excited to see this foal, and to let them know that their spot was reserved for this coming breeding season, and that we would do our very best to get a live foal on the ground for them. Unfortunately, a year later than we were hoping for.
Well, and Scott, kind of like we talked about too, I think it's important for a trainer and a client to be open and honest and be able to hear what the other one's saying. Can you tell us a little bit, like maybe the expectations weren't met, or the horse wasn't quite good enough, or like from a trainer's perspective, how do you handle that?
Well, I think you got to go back further than that, Merle. I think I still want to go back to the horse owner. If they can educate themselves on even where to find a trainer to begin with, I think there's a network of information out there. Talk to people that's been with trainers, whether you just want to have a trail ride broke horse or you got a futurity colt coming up, you got to pick your trainers that way. And then when you figure out where you want your horse to go and what his goals would be, then I think then you start reaching out to people that have used these trainers, try to figure out what's a fit for you. And then at that point, I think you, as an owner, go to that trainer, ask if they got an available spot. Just be open and honest. How's the horse bred? What's been done to the horse before the trainer gets it? What are your goals for this horse? Just too much information will be good for that trainer, because at that time it takes a little pressure off the owner and it puts it on the trainer, because if he knows all this information going into it and you've been honest, he's either going to say yes or no. And if he says yes, then at that point, you can rest assured, but even through that process, let's say you get into it 3 or 4 months and that trainer needs to be honest. Hey, I don't think we're going to meet your goals. It's a nice horse, but he's not good enough for this or that or the other. You can move on from there. And if the trainer doesn't want the horse, he's probably going to be able to point you in a direction, either to a different trainer that might suit you better or a different horse at that point. But back to your question, as far as how we deal with like expectations of horses, we're lucky right now. We've got our people surrounded by great owners. They're very realistic, and but if a horse isn't going to make the goal that they want, we just tell them. I said it might be, I'll just be honest. It's either not going to make it, or it's really good in this area. Might take a little while in this area, and at that time, as long as you're talking back and forth, it should never be a bad deal.
I think one of the things people want to talk about is, and you touched on it, is the pitfalls that both parties will run into. I like the idea of the trainer and the purchaser. I mean, you're going to buy a horse and you're bringing your trainer along with you. Yeah. And the trainer is, and I'm going to go, beyond the quarter horse arena. We're talking a lot of breeds, cold-blooded versus hot-blooded. I've seen, inexperienced riders go with the trainer and they bring in these hot-blooded Arabs or these hot-blooded thoroughbreds off the track into, inexperienced riders. We've seen it. Those are one pitfalls. What can you say? How can you, from a listener out there that is selecting a trainer, what are some of the red flags I need to know about to make sure I don't have any of those type of pitfalls or other pitfalls that I did not mention, Scott or Shelley?
Yeah, I was going to jump in really fast here. And I would say that one of the things is you should look for someone who's doing what you want to do, what you dream of doing with your horse, that they're succeeding at that level and that their customers are succeeding at that level. Where, if I want to run barrels, I might need a different trainer than Scott, but I don't want to. I don't like to go fast. And I think people get into trouble. Sometimes we pick the wrong spot for us the first time out. And we do that with everything. I mean, the first time you buy anything, you're probably not going to do it perfect. And I think that one of the things that I think people need to know is okay is selling that horse. If you get into the wrong situation, it's okay to sell your horse and to start over. It doesn't mean you're giving up. It doesn't mean, sometimes it's just a bad fit. And somebody asked me one time, they said, how can you sell all your babies? Don't you love them? Don't you want to keep them all? And I do love them. I do want to keep them all.
But Scott makes you, doesn't he?
He does. Scott makes me sell them. However, what I told this girl was, who's to say that I love them more than the next person? There's a little girl out there or a little boy or an old lady or an amateur starting out that's going to love this horse way more than I do. And that's my goal.
And if you're just joining us, we are still visiting with Scott and Shelley Rystrom from Trumbull, Nebraska. And Shelley, I'm going to kick it to you a little bit and say, and kind of like what Ed mentioned is what if it's not a good fit? It will fit someplace else, but let's say they want to do trail and this thing is only going to do Western Pleasure, or you have a halter horse and it's not going to make a competitive riding horse. Are you very direct with your clients when you tell them that?
I think so. And you have to be careful because we all get a little too invested in this animal that we love. And so you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings by telling them that their horse isn't going to win a certain event, but showing realistic goals at the same time and pointing them another direction, or sharing the fact that, like we just said, it's okay to move this horse to somebody that will appreciate it more and to find you a new one. That's never giving up. That's never giving up on a horse or yourself.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it's a bad horse. He might be really good at something else, and you might just have the owner might just have to say, well, maybe I'd enjoy what he can do, if they don't want to sell the horse.
Well said. Scott and Shelley Rystrom at Scott Rystrom's Quarter Horses. We want to thank you for joining us. I know it's a tough conversation, not only if they have the wrong horse, but also if they have the wrong discipline. So those things that have to be considered, we have to talk about it. I'm glad you joined us, and I want to tell you we appreciate you coming on board. Want to have you come in, and if anybody wants to talk about the taboo conversations that nobody's talking about, we're inviting these two.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
So, Scott and Shelley Rystrom are always good about talking the taboo conversations, Merle, and what we always need to talk about in this industry.
Ed, I always say, if you want the truth, ask Scott, because he'll tell you whether you like it or not.
Well, and I think it's important because creating those relationships are very key, and making sure that both parties are in agreement to where we're going. So, and we hope to have them on again as we'll talk about more and more conversations and taboos that everybody likes to hear about. So with that in mind, hey, if you missed our show, or if you'd like to hear this show again, I want everybody and invite everybody to check us out on our podcast and hear this radio show again just by searching Better Horses.
And also, Ed, the Better Horses fall edition of our newspaper is just out and hot off the presses. So be sure and look for that. Or if you'd like one delivered to your mailbox, hop on our website.
You can check out the magazine on our website. We've got an electronic edition for you. And if you want to get that subscription, just be sure to check out the subscription and fill out all the information. We'll send it right out to you. And also like to invite everybody to our TV program for Better Horses TV, also airing on RFD and the Cowboy Channel, and also streaming on Equus TV.
I'd like to give a special thanks to our team behind the scenes, our radio producer, Brianna Johnson, our TV producer, Kelly Creech, and of course, all of our great sponsors.
You know, we appreciate all those sponsors, and I guess we got to get back to the barn and start cleaning stalls and start really kind of working our horses, getting them legged up for the championship shows that are all coming up. But more importantly, we want you all to be good buckaroos and buckarettes. Mind your mom and dads and be brave, but don't take any chances out there. Until next time, I'm Ed Adams.
And I'm Merle Arbo.
Happy trails, and always ride for the brand.